Hi everyone, so welcome back to my channel. So in this video we're going to see the next hook, that is usereducer hook. In the last videos I've almost completed all the hooks. If you want to check out those videos, you can just click on the I button above. So without further ado, let's get started. So what I have done is I've just taken the example of a counter application like we have just created in the first hook, that is useState hook. Okay, I've just created a similar scenario. In this reducer component, I just created a count variable. Okay, and then we have the three buttons. One is for the plus increment, then it's for the restart, and the last is for the decrement. Okay, so this functionality I've implemented using the useState hook. If I just show you the output, one second. Okay, so this is the output that we are getting. If I click on the plus button, we are able to increment this value. We are restarting it to 0 and we are decrementing to negative values also. Okay, so this is what we have already studied in the useState hook. So in this example, we are going to perform the functionality of a counter using usereducer hook. Okay, so a question must be arising in your mind that although I have this useState hook, then why I need to learn something new to perform the same functionality? Because it's quite absurd. Like if we are able to perform this functionality using the useState hook, then why there's a need to learn something new? So the reason is that here in this example, the logic is very simple. Okay, we just need to increment or decrement the things. But in the production level applications, the process is very complex. Okay, the state functionality is very complex. So to handle that functionalities, we have usereducer hook. Okay, so that is the main reason that in this video I will be showing you that how you have to implement the usereducer hook, so that in the complex examples you will be able to handle that functionality and create that functionality using the usereducer hook. Okay, let's just change the functionality using the usereducer hook. Firstly, I will just replace it. I'll just import the usereducer hook first. Okay, we have imported at the top. Now let's just create the snippet for the usereducer hook. I'll simply write here usereducer snippet. Okay, so now let me just change the names of this. So first will be the reducer function. Second, it will be the initial value. And here it will be, let's just name it as count, because in the useState hook we have named it as count. So here also we'll name it as count. Okay, so we have this usereducer. Like we just place some initial value in the useState hook as 0. Here also I have placed as 0. Okay, so this is the count, same as in the useState hook. So we have two new things here. One is this reducer function and one is this dispatch function. Okay, now let's just understand first what is this reducer function. Okay, wait, I'll just remove it because we don't know, we don't need it anymore. So now we will create a reducer function. I'll just simply write here const reducer, okay, equals to, it will take two arguments. One is the state, another is the action. Okay, so firstly what we will do is we'll just write the state logic in this reducer function. So to write the state logic, we will use the reducer function. Like we have just used the set count now in the useState hook to increment or decrement the value. To perform that same functionality, we will use the reducer function. Okay, I'll simply write like this: if the action dot type is equals to increment. I know that you are not able to understand it, just hold for a second. You'll able to understand everything once I'll complete the code. Okay, so if I write action dot type is equals to increment, what I want is, in that case I want to return the state plus 1, because here I want to increment the value by 1. This is the state variable. So this state variable in this count is same. Okay, this is not different, this is same only, right? Second case will be else if the action dot type is equals to decrement, then what will happen? We'll just decrement the state by 1. Okay, I'll write like this: else if it is equals to decrement, then in that case we'll just return the state minus 1. Okay, and the last will be the case. Last case is for restart also. Okay, I'll write one more else if and paste it. If it is equals to restart, then I want to return 0. Okay, because in this case we will change the value of the state variable as 0, right? So this is the state functionality, the state logic that we have written in the reducer function. So for now, just remember that reducer function is used to write the state logic. Okay, so now we have seen this is the initial value, this is the reducer function, and this is the state variable, which is the count. Okay, now how we can trigger this reducer function? To trigger this, to implement this reducer function, we will use the dispatch function. Okay, so whenever we will call this dispatch function, then this reducer function will be triggered. Okay, so when we want to trigger this reducer function? On the click of a button. So on the click of a button, we'll remove this code, the set count code. Okay, and in place of that, I'll write dispatch, and in this dispatch I'll pass the type, because you can see in the reducer function we are accepting the type, this type. Okay, for the plus button I'll pass the type as increment. Similarly, for the other buttons I'll pass the decrement and the restart. I'll copy this out, I'll remove this, paste it, and for this I will pass the type as decrement, and the last is for the restart. Type as restart. Okay, I think we have just written the opposite ones. Here we have to write the restart because it's in the middle, and for the last button I'll write decrement. Okay, so now we are done with the functionality. Now let's just check out the code again. Okay, firstly what I did is I just written this snippet. In this we have useReducer hook function, which will take two arguments. The first will be the reducer function and the next will be the initial value of the state. So the name of the state variable is count, and this is the dispatch function which will trigger this reducer function, and reducer function will contain all the state logic, right? So this state logic will have two parameters. One is a state variable, which is same as this count variable. Okay, it will update the state only. So wherever we are changing the states now, it will update the value of this count itself. If we are changing the state to +1, then it will update the value of this count to +1. For -1, it will update the value of this count to -1. It will, if for 0, we will change the value to 0. So this state and this count is same. Okay, and to trigger this reducer function, we will use the dispatch function. And when we need to trigger this reducer function, whenever there's a change in when we click on the button. So when we click on the button, we'll trigger the dispatch function. In that we will pass the type. For the first one we passed increment, second restart, and the last is decrement. Okay, so in this example we have successfully created a counter application using the useReducer hook. Okay, so in this example you might have not understood the exact functionality, like why we actually need the useReducer hook, because we can perform the same functionality using useState also. Okay, so to understand it better, in the coming videos I will create one more video in which I'll use some complex examples so that you can exactly differentiate that why there's a need to use useReducer hook. Okay, but before that let's just read a little bit of documentation. Okay, so let's just compare both of them, the useState and the useReducer. Okay, so useState is very simple to read when the state updates are simple. Okay, like in the counter application, the updates are very simple. Like you just need to increment or decrement the value, right? But when the state logic is complex, when they got more complex, they can bloat up your components code and make it difficult to scan. Okay, so if in the complex example if we are continuing using the use state hook, it will be very difficult to manage the component, right? Because the state logic will be complex in that. So in that very case, use reducer hook will be more beneficial because it is able to handle the logic, the update logic separately and more cleanly. Okay, like you can see from the example, we are having this three types: increment, decrement, and restart. For that, we just need to pass these three types, and properly we are able to handle all of them in a single reducer function. So this is quite, I would say, manageable and for more complex applications. Okay, so yeah, so we have just come to the end of this video. I hope you find this video really informative, and in the coming videos I'll just continue the same series of the Mern Stack. And if you have any doubt, you can just tell me in the comment section, and before that, do subscribe the channel and hit on the bell icon for more such updates. Thank you so much.